Hello, today we have as our special guest Mr. Jean-Jacques Annaud, Oscar-winning director, and welcome to Mongolia.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for receiving our invitation for this exclusive interview as well.
Pleasure for me to be here and talk to you.
So we will talk mainly about your filmmaking career and about your movies, about how you depict certain things that you want to deliver to viewers. So my first question will be, you have made several visits to Mongolia, and this one I heard is the third visit.
Yes.
And by the invitation of the Mongolian president.
Right.
Yes, and many have expectation that a world-acclaimed director will do a movie about Mongolia. More on that, please.
What did you say? But
many have expectation in Mongolia that you might do a movie about Mongolia.
Well, you know, Mongolia is a very exceptionally beautiful place in the world. And it's a place that makes me dream since I was a child. Because, you know, in my country, we've been invaded several times by people from that region. But strangely enough, we have been told since we were children that a great king of yours, Attila, was a very wise man that could behave as a gentleman. So in France, we have, you know, admiration for those great conquerors. At the same time, respect for the dignity of that person. And of course, you know, we know about empire, Genghis Khan, formidable thing for a small group of people to have such an empire, and also running China for a number of centuries. So of course, you know, there is great respect, fascination, and this is one of the reasons I fell in love with the book Wolf Totem. Although Wolf Totem doesn't, it's a inner Mongolia story, but I visited Mongolia right away because it's the same culture. And I've been absolutely fascinated not only by the land, but by the people. You know, I think people are very welcoming here. I have very warm memories of my first visit. I spent 2 to 3 weeks in the region, especially in the eastern part of the land, and visited in those days Ulaanbaatar twice. I met a number of historians here and started doing my research. I bought a number of books. Here there was a French library, French bookshop, where I bought a number of very, very good books on Mongol culture. So, you know, that was a very positive moment. Then you're asking me if I would like to come back and shoot. Yes, the answer is yes.
That's really good news.
Yes, because I feel good in this country, you know, and I know the country wants to do more films. I know that the officials here want to help local filmmakers to make either TV series or movies. It is, of course, difficult in a country where you have only 20 screens, or 40, let's say 40 screens, while, you know, countries like America have 60,000. So you can't compare, you don't have a market here.
Yes, we have quite small market compared to bigger markets like Hollywood or even the Chinese market, right?
You know, it's impossible to compare because in China, they are building 18 screens a day.
A day?
A day.
Wow.
Here, you've got 20 screen period.
Yes.
So, it's not the same league. Therefore, you know, this is a problem. But what you have is you've got many television screens, and you've got viewers that speak Mongol, not only in Mongolia, but in Inner Mongolia and other places in Russia. So you can show movies in Mongol, And of course, you can do movies in Mongolia for the rest of the world. That is more complicated because the world of cinema today is very dependent on marketing. And marketing costs a lot of money.
Yes.
And you have to always question yourself is, are the teenagers that are the people who go to cinema nowadays, are they going to see a Mongol movie the Friday it opens, or would they prefer some kind of video game, big American movies with explosions and lots of spaceships? That's a question, you know. So it's this difficult situation. Cinema, I feel, very difficult. But what I know is that the country wants to attract filmmakers from abroad for movies to be shot here, because you've got great landscapes.
Yes, we do.
Magnificent.
Yes.
The problem is infrastructure.
Infrastructure.
So you know, it's not an easy thing.
Yes, and on infrastructure, I think the problems arise even for the equipment, the tools used into this shooting the film, right? For the cinematography, it's really hard. For example, procure the right equipment, bring them all here. It all costs a lot of money, right?
Yeah, well, you know, it depends what kind of equipment. Cameras are fine because it's not too big. But if you need cranes, if you need specific helicopters, also what you have to think is accommodation. You know, my unit for Wolf Totem was 600 people.
And plus the accommodation for the wolves, right?
Yeah, so, but that we had to do because there is no hotel for wolves in, that I know. But you know, film industry is this bizarre industry where we often need wilderness, but close to an hotel. You see, so it's a contradiction almost.
Yes.
And I've been discussing this with the Minister of Culture, with some of the people from the Parliament. They're very serious about promoting cinema in Mongolia, and I personally will do my very best to help, because I love, I must say, after this movie, you know, I have even a greater respect for Mongols and Mongolia, Mongol culture. So it's something that's in my heart. It's easy for me to tell my colleagues how beautiful a country it is and how friendly Mongols are towards our industry.
Well, that's really pleasing to hear that from a very great director like you about our Mongolian culture and Mongolian people. So I can understand that we have attracted your attention in some way, right? So you just have mentioned that you have met yesterday. You have met the higher up officials,
right?
And what were the exact discussion held yesterday about promoting, you said, Mongolia through the Mongolian movie, right?
Well, you know, there are two aspects. Is promoting through movies, you need to have movies that have success. How do you get a success from a movie that talk about Mongolia? This is complicated. Because the word Mongolia is full of dream for audiences, but for cinema, the competition is very difficult because you've got to fight against blockbusters coming from America, or a few comedies that would come from, you know, Europe or America. So it's not easy. The other thing that the officials are thinking of is to make Mongolia a film-friendly place to attract film crews from outside by finding a few incentives like subsidies or because, you know, in the world today you have to see that there is a lot of competition. A lot of countries want to attract filmmakers. I can see for myself, you know, when I have a project, I get a number of phone calls from Hungary, England, Italy, New Mexico, British Columbia. They all want to see a film crew because it's good for promoting the land, saying, hey, this movie has been shot in this place. So how do you get filmmaker convinced that this is the place? Well, of course, you have to have the proper setting, the proper land, but also, you know, the proper equipment. If it's a helicopter movie, for instance, do you have helicopters here available? I don't know, I just know. But I know you have a lot
just
of...
for instance, right?
Eh?
Just for instance.
Yes, for an example, you know, it's the request can be very diverse. Do you have a big river where we can do a naval fight? Do you have boats? Or, on the contrary, do you have a forest, a big forest, where our people, actors can get lost? It's very diverse. So one of the incentive, one of the appeal is always now in the world today, competition in terms of where it is the most convenient and the cheapest.
Yes.
You know, because this is the rule. And many countries compete by giving rebates, by giving tax. They're going to give the tax back. Like if you go to a duty-free shop, you know, if you buy something,
the tax refund.
Right? Tax refund, things like that. It's a variety of incentives. Therefore, I've seen the members of parliament and the minister very seriously exploring what the other countries are doing in order to be in good shape for competition. But of course, you know, it's also a faraway country. For America, it's far away. For China, it's closed. Or for Russia, but Russia doesn't probably need to go to Mongolia unless it's cheaper. You know, it's each movie, each project has to be analyzed. And I also talked about a film commission. Film commission is a place where any producer can call and where they would get the answers. What's the cost of a grip? You know, what's the cost of a cinematographer here? What kind of equipment do you have? How many rooms do you have available in the other mountains? Etc., etc., etc. And possibility also to send some pictures showing what is requested. You know, for instance, may request, we need a train in the snow across a forest. Do you have this? Yes, I guess you have that. Do you have pictures of that? Okay, send it to the production and say, oh, good.
So in other words, we have to have that data bank already set up about what opportunities we have, what equipment we have, what we can support with.
What actors you have.
Place, right?
What actors you have.
And plus the actors.
Yes. And what stuntmen, for instance, you know, horse stuntmen, I'm sure you have a lot of people who could be a very good horseman, or archery, of course. You have many aspects here where you are better than any other country. So that has to be promoted, you know. And so when you go to festivals, you always receive catalog from all over the world, with people say, come to southern Italy, we have rivers, we've got mountain, we've got the sea, we've got beautiful women, beautiful men, we've got superb rocks for rock climbing stories, etc., etc. You know,
so we have to create our kind of story, our kind of story to tell to other people, right?
Yes, that's the most difficult. You know, let's face it. The key to a good film is a good script. And what is a good script? It's a script that that will provide the basic for a movie that people are emotional with. When there is tension, when there is interest, it's like storytelling. You know, some people start telling you a story. After 2 minutes, you say, "What's the point? What are you telling me? Why? Please stop and finish your story." Some other people, you go, and then what happened?
So
So this is the kind of screenplay that you need. And usually, you know, in countries that do not have a long tradition of filmmaking, you've got very, very good, very poorly written screenplay with no tension. They all say, "Oh, but it's a great historical character." So it's a guy who, you know, was a king for 20 years, and he married 2 wives, and so what? What happened? Well, he married 2 wives, so? Well, they were happy and they give him children. So, there's no tension, there's no story, you know. And how do you build a story? So you have to have, you know, if you have great novels, great novels are always well-written novels with a tension. And it's even worse for cinema because you have only 2 hours to tell a story. So the structure has to be very dense. And then that's, I would say, to get a great Mongol cinema, you have to have great Mongol storytellers. You know,
so the storytellers are really important in this industry, first of all. And in most of the movies that you have directed, you also played a role in screenplay writing.
Always?
Always.
Yes.
That is always. So what captures you in a novel or in a story that you really want to make a movie about?
It's the mood of the moment. Because, you know, some directors, they reproduce always the same kind of movie. I would get bored doing that. So I like to use the various interests that I have in life. You know, I've done very diverse movies. Movies with cavemen, movies in Africa, movies with animals, movies with snipers, movie with a story of a young girl discovering love in the arm of a Chinese man. Why? Well, because, you know, it's all the same person who express itself through different aspects of life. You know, directors are normal people. Normal people, they have a job, but they have also a hobby, several hobbies. Same for me. You know, I have a fascination for nature, for instance, but I also love women. It's not contradictory, you know.
It's
life. Or a fascination also. I did a movie called Enemy at the Gates, a story of 2 snipers, played by Ed Harris and Jude Law. Because it's a hunting. It's a hunting party. Therefore, you know, it's already, Wolf Totem is also very often about hunting.
Yes.
This is one of the fundamental of mankind, you know. So, as a matter of fact, there are many common themes in my movies, but they are hidden because when people see wolves hunting or wolf looking at a prey, at gazelles, they would not necessarily think about a sniper movie. As a matter of fact, it's the same technique.
Yes.
And it's the same sort of tension. Therefore, it's the same sort of fascination for me. And in order to get the excitement of making a movie, I have to have the impression that I'm going to discover something new. You know, when I'm doing a movie like Wolf Totem, not only I have to understand Mongol culture, research Mongol culture, come to your country, meet with a lot of people, but I also have to do the same with Chinese culture. Therefore, for a foreigner like me, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fascination. Then I can really think after, wow, I spent a number of years doing this movie, but I learned a lot, and it was great.
Yes.
It was fun.
I think it's all about learning experience.
Yes.
For everything we do, you do, I do,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And in that regard, you have done a lot of research on nomads, on Mongols.
Sure.
And you have visited Mongolia several times. So could you please share your thoughts about Mongolians?
Well, you know...
about maybe unique aspects we have.
Well, you have and you had, because, you know, it's becoming a new country now. It's different. The life is different. People are now, half of the nation is in Ulaanbaatar, so they're becoming city people. So what I can say is I tried to learn as much as I could of the nomadic life of 50 years ago, and of course of the past, because this was very similar. You know, I'm always fascinated with nomadic cultures because I belong to a non-nomadic culture, to a sedentary culture. But I experienced nomadic cultures in Africa a lot. I lived 1 year in Cameroon, and in northern Cameroon you've got a lot of nomadic, called them Bororo. We are related to the Maasai. And I also shot in Kenya, where the Maasai move with the cattle, and they often get into conflict with the peasants. So I'm familiar with the system and the reason why there is always a bit of a conflict when you have the two cultures, you know, peasants and herders. And what was fascinating in Wolf Totem is it's a period of time when, after Second World War, everywhere in the world, the same mistake was done. Cutting the forest to grow, to have more fields, destroying the grassland to try to grow corn or wheat. And what was interesting for me, it had nothing to do with a specific Chinese period. It was at the same time I was in the Cameroon, and I saw my French friends, the agronomist, coming there and doing exactly the same mistake for opposite reason, you know. It was to, well, not opposite reason, to grow more food for a growing population. So it was very interesting for me because, yes, I had to learn a lot about nomadic culture. Yes, I had to learn a lot about cultural revolution in China. But the problem is above that. It's a general problem of a population.
Yes, and preserving the nature.
And preserving the nature,
right?
the nature on which we depend. And you know, I know that you have this complex problem here in Mongolia, where you have a rich underground, but you also need a beautiful grassland. So it's a balance. Not too much of this, not too little of that.
And in that regard, in like preserving the nature, the environment, nomads, especially Mongol nomads, have done a lot and have developed a lot of customs related just to preserving the nature. And I think, to my mind, as a part of the audience who saw the Wolf Totem, I think you have depicted it really clearly through the wolves and through the relationship of the human and the wolf to preserve that environmental cycle.
That was the fundamental reason why I wanted to do this movie. You know, exactly what you said, because it's an international problem. It's not only a Chinese problem at all. We all are confronted to the same difficulty. Absolutely. You know, when I read the novel, I said to myself, well, that is happening in Canada as well, who's supposed to be a very clean country. But no, they're destroying their forests to make paper. So they cut trees, and it's becoming very ugly. Or shale oil, you know, and they ruin the whole land. So I was fascinated to do this movie within the Mongol region, inside the border of China, addressing the specific problem of China in those days, but with knowing that it was absolutely global and universal. And this is why the movie, you know, is doing so well in foreign countries. It's because people understand immediately that it could be happening in Germany, France, or Italy.
Yes, it is depicted really clearly. Everyone could instantly understand what's going on with the story you want to tell to the audience. And it clearly captures with the cinematography, great cinematography and the great music score as well, and the great direction, I think. And on to the next question. You have a very clear depiction of one message with each and every movie you have directed. So, and the conveying is very natural. you use a lot of cultural aspects.
Yes.
And plus, you don't hide anything.
Well,
It's like clearly out there.
I'm trying. Yes. Well, you know that I don't know. I'm just spitting out my beliefs and my sincerity. I'm not trying to cheat. It's too complicated to cheat.
I know. People are not fools, right? And the audience especially. And you are making a lot of international movies and involving Hollywood actors, involving local actors, and you have placed your movie locations all over the world.
Yes, yes.
Yes, and it requires a lot of understanding, a lot of mutual understanding of the film crew, of the locals, and the support from the government, I guess. So how is that can make into a whole one piece?
Well, you know, it's easy. It's very easy because if you go to some place with the desire to understand the place, therefore the people, if you have appetite, food always feels good. Yes. and you know, when you go in the desire to learn, the only way to learn is to love. Therefore, sometimes it happened that I had a hard time to love, therefore I didn't do the movie. But you know, when I came to Mongolia, I love the way people are. I love the evenings I had in the yurts, you know, drinking the spirit, the singing, the way people were friendly. And maybe they were friendly as well because they knew I wanted to learn. They knew I had respect, authentic respect.
And the sincerity.
And that I can guarantee, of course. Absolute sincerity. So, excitement. So, you know, when you scout in a country, if you're not interested, you would sleep or do video games in the back of the car.
Yes.
If you go there to find a great place to shoot, you're like this. Everything is interesting, you know. So this is why I'm also changing from one movie to another, because I cannot, you know, you don't have a first time twice.
Yes.
So I still have a lot of things to discover in a country like Mongolia, but definitely not the same kind of story. You know, this is why right now I'm getting so many animal stories. But I don't want to do animal movies. By coincidence, I did 2 before. But it's by coincidence. It's because, you know, I started, my first movie was in Africa. And in Africa, I met a lot of people who were specialized in studying tribes. And it gave me the idea to make a movie in the ancient times of mankind called Quest for Fire.
Quest for Fire.
And for that movie, Quest for Fire, I had to learn body language, which is something I didn't know in those days. You know, for instance, am I the same person like this or like that? Of course not. But what was the common body language in those days? You know,
Yes.
Something which was ape-like, probably, most probably. Therefore, I had to study mammal behavior. And then I realized how much I was, inside myself, very close to a bear, a tiger, a wolf, and probably a pigeon, an eagle. And because I started learning a lot about animal behavior, only to understand that my behavior was not very far away, you know. And therefore, it goes with this thinking that I have is, although I'm a Frenchman, I can live very happily in Hollywood. I can enjoy my life here, going in small villages in Mongolia. I can enjoy being in China. So you know, this is I try to be as open as I can, because I think I'm benefiting from all those influences. Mm-hmm. And it's true that you know, after making a movie called The Bear, about the story of a bear, I immediately went to something entirely different, The Lover. Mm-hmm. Story of a young woman who discovers love in the arms of a very dignified Chinese man. But as a matter of fact, I learned so much directing an animal that to direct sex scene, mm-hmm. It was a big help, because it deals with instincts.
Yes, instincts, basic instincts.
Basic instincts. And you know, there's nothing bad about it. Now I value the beauty of instincts. Mm-hmm. After all, this magnificent impulse of love, desire, carnal desire, it's fundamental of life. If there is no desire, the species will die. Mm-hmm. And apparently it's not the case, you know.
The next question will be about the actors.
Uh-huh.
So what main traits you seek in the actor to play a main character in your movie? For example, why Jude Law in The Enemies at the Gates? Why Brad Pitt at the 7 years in Tibet? And why Anghnam as the wife of the herdsman?
Well, you know, very different kind of requirements. For Enemy at the Gates, I wanted people with great eyes, because mm-hmm. a sniper is a person that doesn't move and looks for a long, long time. And therefore, I picked two people, Ed Harris and Jude Law, mm-hmm. who have magnificent eyes. Because it's a movie about eyes. Mm-hmm. Of course, they had to be great actors as well, which they are. So I met a lot of them, but definitely Jude Law was above all the others. Plus, he's a very intelligent man, a very easy man to direct, mm-hmm. And very beautiful to look at, you know, which is good for you, but it's also good for me when I have, you know, a good-looking man in front of me. I am more appealed, and I would look at this person. My eyes are attracted by mm-hmm. beauty, you know, mm-hmm. as we all are. When I'm saying
fascination, right?
Yes, when I'm saying beauty, you know, beauty is a very complex thing. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily looking like a TV star or like a model on the cover of a magazine. There is a sort of beauty where a face can be so strange that it carries a certain beauty. One of my favorite actors, Ron Perlman, is a guy mm-hmm. who I hire very often. He has a very, very bizarre face, but I find him beautiful because mm-hmm. he has so much power.
Yes, and he has been cast like
3 or 4 times in my movie.
4 times?
4 times, yes, yeah. Because I love him. He's fantastic to shoot. So now your second question was, why Brad Pitt? Mm-hmm. Well, I needed a charismatic, extremely good-looking young man, supposedly from Germany. Mm-hmm. Why was it important? Because this man survived those 7 years that he crossed Tibet with very hostile locals. Mm-hmm. Locals, they didn't like to see those 2 mountaineers. Why could he go across? Because of his good looks. Mm. Because he was a very charming guy, and especially women said to their men, don't kill him. You know, so that's a key to it. Now, Anghnam. A story about Anghnam is, you know, when I decided to go with this movie, of course my Chinese friends always said, this is your decision, but please meet our famous actresses in mm-hmm. China. I must say, I met them all. I mean, all the, let's say, the 20 most famous actresses in mm-hmm. China became my friend. I have great respect for them. I discovered many fantastic Chinese actresses, very talented, but they were not Mongols. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted the Mongols to be Mongols.
Yes.
And I felt very essential. And you know what charmed me? When Ankenim came to see me in Beijing, I saw this beautiful woman. She looked like a model out of Vogue. And then she showed me her iPad. She said, let me understand, is this that kind of character that you need? And she showed me a woman in a farm, you know, in a yard, milking a cow and then pushing the herd of sheep. And oh, I said, yes, exactly that. And she said, that was me last week. I loved it because it was exactly the character I wanted. I wanted someone that could understand the spirit of Mongolia and that could depict a beautiful countrywoman from Mongolia. And you know, what was nice is everyone around me understood that yes, all the Mongols in the movie, and there are many, should be played by Mongol actors. So I did a very long casting session in Inner Mongolia because the story takes place in Inner Mongolia. I couldn't find someone like Ankenim in Inner Mongolia. This is why I came here. And I met several actresses, and there was one that was very good for the part as well. But I picked Ankenim because I felt that she was the most appropriate for the part. And I'm delighted with the performance.
Yes, and she blends in really well with the whole movie, with the whole story, and the whole message you wanted to say, right?
She is a fantastic actress. She is extremely talented. She has wonderful instincts. She has a level of improvisation also that is very remarkable. And you know, the camera loves her. She's got beautiful facial structure, very intense and witty eyes. She's very smart. No, she's been a delight. And we are getting incredibly great reviews on our work everywhere in the world. And I must say that Zhang Rong, the writer of the novel, sent me a lovely, lovely letter after seeing the movie. He loved the movie, cried a lot, etc. And he said the best actor in the movie is Ankenim.
Wow, that's really great appraisal, I think, from the author of the book.
Yeah, especially he didn't want that character because this character is almost non-existent in the novel. I perceived that the reality was probably different, that he didn't want to tell things. But when I read the book, I felt that he was very attracted by this woman. So I invented a larger story with the two of them.
Thank you for your fascinating story about yourself, about your experience, and about, I think most of all, that quest for learning.
Yes, that has been the pleasure of my life, you know.
So unfortunately we have a very limited time today, and unfortunately we have to make this wonderful time to come to an end.
There would be one thing I want to add, because since I arrived here, I've heard that there is a rumor that the movie was longer and that it was cut by the Chinese censorship. It is absolutely untrue.
Okay.
I never planned to do a longer movie. The movie you have seen here, the movie they see in China, is exactly the same.
Same length.
Yeah, it's a slightly longer here because there's a longer title in Chinese. 2 minutes longer only for titles. It's exactly the same movie, not a change. And I went through all the regular, usual, you know, steps through what they call the film bureau in China. I've been entirely free from beginning to end, from casting, even though, you know, they requested that I should meet other actors, but I picked the one I wanted. The location.
So you were given all the freedom.
I was given an unusual, remarkable freedom.
Okay, thank you for joining me for this incredible interview. I didn't expect it to be so wonderful. I think it's because of you, all your experience, and thank you for sharing your thoughts about Mongolia, about Mongolian people as well.
Listen, I feel so well here that I hope I'll come several times, many times, and for longer.
Very welcome. We will wait for you with the open mind and all the support you need.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
We had a great time and pleasure having an interview with Jean-Jacques Annaud, world-acclaimed film director, and thank you for visiting us today.
Thank you for very good questions.
Thank you.